Okay, in the previous video, we talked about creating an array of objects from a single class. Now we are going to talk about, and the way we did the array of objects, we created in main, and you did your functions. Now we're going to talk about further encapsulation. Remember, hiding implementation details from the client. So the array that we created in main now is going to be encapsulated. So what we have is this is our video class, which you're all familiar with by now. This is your task class or your song class that we should be writing. Now we are going to go one step further and encapsulate this list of video that you had in main in a class of its own. So that is one step further in encapsulation, in hiding details of the list class from the client. So we really shouldn't be creating that list object or that list class, or that I should say the array in main. It should be in a class of its own. So here's a video class, which is the single class that we had built before. Now we are adding another class to it, which is called the list class, and we put the list and its count in a class of its own and all the functions that go with it. So if I'm going to add something to the list, that should be in this class. If I'm going to remove something from the list, that should be in this class. If I'm going to search, that should be in this class. If I'm going to print, it should be in this class. Anything associated with the list or the database should be in this class, encapsulated. So if you look at it, this is kind of a UML drawing, which is a unified modeling language. So when you look at it, you know the class name, you know the data members, the minus says it's private, the plus says they are public. So these are the member functions. These are the data members. Likewise, my video class. So we will create two classes. And so I'm going to show you the code for that. Here is the list class. They encapsulate the array and its size in a class of its own. And so you have two data members, the array of the video. So in order for this to work, we must have the video class created, which is here, which we have so far. So I will show you the code to add the list class. So there is no homework for this, but this is something that will be extended into project 3, which is what my next video will be on, and that's our next step. So if you look here, I have a file called encapsulate.cpp. And starting from the top, we have this video class, which is the same as what you have had so far, your task class or your song class. Nothing changes there. Go down, at the end of the video class, I have a video list class. So follows the same syntax, class video list is what I called it. So I have two data members, the array of videos and the count. And constructor, I have one constructor here. We will extend this to add another constructor for your project 3. The constructor is an initializer. In this case, I'm initializing it with nothing. So it'll create an array of videos, all the videos. Essentially, it'll create the array, but there'll be nothing in it. Its count will be 0. And in the next phase, we will load it from the file as we create the object. So we're not doing that here. We have just one constructor, and it will create an empty array. The destructor is there. Notice the tilde in front of the destructor. We will add to this in the next phase. I'm just adding, searching, and printing in this. I'm not doing anything more. Here's the implementation. For my default constructor, notice I'm just setting count equals 0. When count equals 0, that means my array is empty. There's nothing in my array. Destructor, there's nothing to do. So simply have empty curly brackets. Add a video. Now, here is another teaching moment on overloaded functions. This add video belongs to the class. Notice my class with the scope resolution operator. It receives a single video object as a parameter that I simply say, copy that into my array at count and increment count. So count is 0. I take this video, plug it into the array or insert it into the array and increment count. Every time I call add video, it comes in with a video that gets added to the array, count gets incremented. Search by year, simply ask the user to enter in year, goes through my array, and it simply says, okay, if there is an object, I print it. This is again part of the class. The class already has the array. So if list of I dot get year, call the accessor function, compare it with the temp year that the user just entered here. If it is there, print it. If not, do nothing. Print list again is something that sits in my video list class. So you just go through a for loop and list of I for every item, call its print video function. It will print itself because we already have a print video function for the class video. Okay, so think about it, try to put them all together. Here are my function prototypes for the local functions. These are the utility functions. Display menu, read option. That's all I have right now. Add video, this is an overloaded function. An overloaded function is a function with the same name, but it takes different parameters. So if you look at my add video all the way up here, this add video takes a single video object, whereas this add video down here actually takes an list object. This is a new class, and this is an object of that class. Notice it takes it by reference. Objects can be passed by reference. This object internally has an array and its count. Remember that. That's how we created the class. So now if you go into main, my client code, let's see what we're doing here. We are not creating an array anymore in main. We are creating an object store list of this video list that we have here. So this is, if you go back to my slide set, this is my encapsulation. This is my class. And what we are doing is we are actually creating an object. So if I add a slide here, and to show you this object that I'm creating, let's throw a circle here. So we are creating this object called store list. And this object has in it, it has the list, which is an array, and it has the count. Remember, as our class that we have done here. So when I create my store list, it's an object. It has an array and a count that goes with it. So then I create a temp, a video, a local video. I go through my menu. If they want to add a video, I call this local add video function. And what do I send to it? I send this object that I created. So when this object as a whole goes to the add video function, with it goes its list and the count. Okay, now what do we do with that in my add video function? Go down to the add video function, which is here. It takes this object by reference. Why by reference? Because when I increment count, I want this object to be changed and come back changed. Otherwise, if you load 5 or 7 items into the array and the count changes and the array changes, nothing, if you don't send it by reference, it's not going to come back with all the information. So must send it by reference. Then in this function, you create a temp video. You read all the information from the user. You populate that temp video, and then you call the add video function that we created up there from the class. So store list dot add video will go up and call this function that I have here that belongs to the class. See this one line function? This a video is what's coming in. It will get inserted into my array. Okay, so look at it very carefully. That is the only tricky thing here. Add video has a local add video. You read everything from the user, populate a temporary video, send it to this function, which is part of the class store list. The object has its own method called add video. It will add the temp video to its array and increment the count. And it will say video added successfully, and then go back to your main. The rest of the functions are pretty straightforward. You know display, you know read option, and you know your rest of the class functions. If you call print, it will print itself. So if you go down here, notice the difference in the way we call the functions. Add video is the only thing that takes the store list as a parameter, because this add video is not the class add video. This is the local add video to which we send this object as a parameter. And here we call add video that belongs to the class. Okay, whereas for the other functions, we simply go here and call store list.print. it'll print itself. Store list dot search by year. It will call the search by year and it'll say, does the year with the movie exist, or does the movie with the year exist or not, right? Okay, so how do you run this? You run this, I've already built it, and see what it does. Again, the functionality is going to be very similar. Are you going to see much of a change? Perhaps not. I have no videos. So let me add some videos, add a name of a movie, enter a year, add another movie, 2012. Okay, search. Enter the year to search for, 2012, it prints all the movies. Enter the year to search for, 2020, it prints nothing. Okay, so keep this in mind, work through it, try to build a song class and a song list class, and I will see you in the next video with for project 3.